my IB Theater research project, I will be covering 17th century French farce. First, we will be covering origin and definition. These are referred to from Britannica. First is origin. Farce as a theatrical form has roots in medieval French comedy, evolving into a distinctive genre during the 17th century. Farces were short, humorous interludes performed between acts of more serious plays, often derived from medieval mystery plays or popular folk theater. By the early 1600s, farce began to emerge as a standalone form, showcasing exaggerated characters and situations that emphasize physical humor over plot complexity. So overall, they didn't really care a lot about the plot, and these plays were actually, yes, mystery plays, and they were also used in religious plays. And they just wanted to insert lots of humor into the play, so just to make the audience laugh. And next is definition. Farce defines as a comedic dramatic piece that highly uses improbable situations, stereotyped characters, extravagant exaggeration, and violent horseplay. It often includes stock characters and a focus on mistaken identities, misunderstandings, and slapstick humor. The main aim was to entertain by pushing the limits of logic, showcasing human follies and virus through laughter. So again, they just really wanted to make the play really funny, have the audience get engaged, and just have a good time. Next, we will be covering history. This was referenced by the International School of Lausanne. It started off in the 15th century, where the term farce was used to describe the elements of clowning, acrobatics, and caricature. Then they started to insert little bits of jokery here and there. Farce was usually used as a physical form of theater, and this is also very similar to an Italian form of theater called commedia dell'arte, and their main goal or main gesture for performance was just a lot of physical stuff. Okay. Next, we'll be covering structure, and this was also by the International School of Lausanne. It was basically several short pieces, one acts, short scenes, and they just wanted to make it with comedic effect. And the plot basically had no structure at all, and just little pieces of funny moments to make the audience laugh. And it involved the situations that the main character was living through, but they just made it really, really funny instead of wanting to focus on a complex narrative. I researched 4 different character types, and this was referenced by the drama teacher. Firstly, farce was it basically used well-defined characters, often representing exaggerated versions of real-life archetypes. So first is the fool or the simpleton. It was used to be very straightforward, like a comic relief, basically. And they lacked sophistication and understanding. And their character was used to reveal deeper truths about other characters. Next is the clever or cunning servant. This character was more intelligent and resourceful rather than the other characters, and it was used to drive the plot with schemes and manipulation. Third is the deceived husband. This was more of the target of humor, often gullible and oblivious, and just being the target of humor. And next is the scheming wife. This character was more intelligent and strategic, driving the plot points, and it basically kind of fought against what gender roles were, because women were often seen as very weak and timid, always having to do stuff for their husband. But in the case with French farce, it's completely switched. And for my performance use of convention, I will be doing the use of gesture, and this was referenced from the drama teacher as well. So it's basically 5 main categories to really drive and to actually perform French farce. So number 1 is overstatement. This was designed to be clearly understood to the audience, crucial for audience members who did not understand the language fluently. So basically by having recognizable physical gestures, the audiences, no matter like what language they spoke, they were able to understand the characters and just get it. Yep. Next is physical comedy. This was used to enhance humor, and it was basically a lot of slapstick humor. Next is characterization. This basically just meant recognizable gestures, clear character identification, and storytelling. And then 4 and 5 are kind of morphed into each other. It's amplified emotions and exaggerated body movements. So this is basically just exaggerated emotions using body language. So this could mean like wide eyes, big mouth, and just like, yep. They need to have like a very clear reaction. So I will be performing the monologue from The Pretentious Ladies by Moliere as the character of Madelon, and I will be covering first the two main takes of doing this monologue. So take 1, I had a lot of trouble with the audio. I recorded the video on my laptop, and once I got the result of it, the audio was very like staticky and echoey, and you couldn't understand one word I was saying. So I scrapped the recording on the laptop, and I ended up using my phone to record as we are doing now. Second was the lighting was not really good. I don't know if you could see it in the photo, but you can see that the light in the kitchen, I'm in the living room right now, and the kitchen is to my right. The lights are very, very bright, and it's not a good idea to have like a light on screen. Yeah. And then third, I wasn't memorized at all. I was just reading the monologue, and this meant that I couldn't really do a lot of physical gestures or have like a specific kind of voice I wanted to go with for the character. And also the monologue was 2 minutes long. That means it was like that much. And then I had to condense it. That way it was easier for me to memorize and have a lot more physical gestures and like basically just have the ability to perform. And lastly, I could not say some of the words correctly, so this kind of fought against the articulation and the projection of my voice. So we will be going to take 2. Oh, okay. This was a few days after my first ever take. And I just want to say that I was not able to get a lot of photos or videos into my presentation, but I did practice this monologue a lot when I was home. Yeah. But take 2, it felt a lot more better with this one. So I ended up condensing the monologue, and I will be using that to perform for this video. But I wasn't memorized. I had to read it on a piece of paper, and I ended up writing little like pieces of what I should do as a physical gesture. But because I had to read both the monologue and the actions, it was difficult to actually perform them. And recording on my phone was actually a lot better than recording on my laptop because you could understand me more clearly. And I figured that I should maybe have some sort of British or French accent when performing the monologue, because I feel like, because French farce, obviously set mostly in Europe. And yeah, here we go. Good heavens! If everybody was like you, a love story would soon be over. Matrimony ought never to happen till after other adventures. A lover, to be agreeable, must know how to utter fine sentiments and to breathe soft, tender vows. But first, he should follow these rules of courtship. He should meet the lady in a public place or be introduced to by a friend and leave with a melancholy air. He must conceal his passion at first, then declare it in a shady garden walk. This should lead to jealousy, misunderstandings, rivalry, and the usual complications. But straight out a marriage proposal without all these other adventures, it's positively tradesman-like. The mere thought of it makes me sick at heart. So I will be talking about my personal development and basically just more of an understanding when it comes to French farce theater. So beginning when I first chose it, when I did my research,
I felt as if it was very similar to the Italian comedic form of theater, which is commedia dell'arte, which I am a little familiar with because I studied it in my other theater classes. But overall, I feel like as if French farce, it was really used to comment on society and also like be hypocritical about the upper classes and the absurdity of human nature. And yeah, I just felt as if it wasn't all about humor, but even though it is a major, like, I guess, point for French farce is for it to be a slapstick comedy, but I felt as if that French farce theater was just mostly about commentary and reflection on our society. And comparing it to like modern theater today, I felt as if like theater has just really evolved, and with French farce, it talked about themes of power, control, and human folly, which I feel as if that we don't really see that as much in modern world of theater. And talking about my personal development as a performer, and when I did my monologue, for the second time, like for this recording, I ended up missing one of the lines, and I did not have a lot of physical movements, so I felt as if I didn't really show what French farce theater was. Even though this is a research project, I just wish I could do more, but I feel as if that with this research project, I was able to learn something new, and I didn't even know that French farce theater existed. I just knew that obviously France would have some sort of theater, but I was not expecting it to have such a big influence when it comes to like many more European forms of theater and also just modern comedy theater. But when I did my monologue, it was it did not have a lot of physical exaggerations, but I felt as if that it didn't necessarily need to specifically have slapstick, but I think it was just precise timing, I believe, and how the scene just moves along, because it obviously is a monologue. It's a very long piece of text, and there's no other characters interacting with you, so you just have to like quickly figure out what to do, and obviously you need a lot of rehearsing, and unfortunately I could not really rehearse a lot because I've just been very busy. But also at the same time, I feel as if that French farce theater has to be, the exaggeration of the performance has to be believable, and it isn't just about like, it needs to make sense for the context of the scene. If you just do like random slapstick, slapping in the face, or like just random stuff, and it doesn't align with the context of the scene, I feel as if that performance, if it was for French farce theater, it wouldn't show the same, or it wouldn't be like perfect or anything. So I believe that French farce theater isn't just about being funny, but just to show the absurdity of the logical like world of the play. And French farce theater was definitely a very interesting form of theater to research about, and I'm really glad that I did. And this is just another step to learning more about forms of theater. So